the tank, we need to do two things. One is obviously check the internal plumbing, and the other is actually test it to make sure there are no leaks. This tank is not the stock tank. The stock tank that comes with the jet is a plastic tank. This is the CM Jet's tank, and it's a very well built Kevlar tank. It includes these swiveling fittings that are amazing. So I really like that about the tank. And you can see it was already tested by CM Jet. So I have very high hopes that this tank is going to be no problem for us, but we'll still test it. In terms of the internals of the tank, this is what's provided, and you can see very well wire wrapped, a really heavy clunk. And the only thing I don't like too much about this is that this is Tygon, but that's not a problem really, because the accessibility of this tank when it's in the jet is very, very good. So that means that it's going to be really easy to replace the Tygon anyway. So all in all, really not a problem. What's key here is that you can see everything has been wire wrapped. They even added grooves to the brass rod that's in there. So very, very, very well done here from CM Jet. So that looks good. We're gonna go and blow some air through here with my mouth, because I don't want to crack the tank or anything, and then dunk it in some water and see if it leaks. I have faith that this is not going to be a problem at all. It's time to test our tanks. This L39 XXL tank is one of the CM Jet's tanks, so this is not the stock tank. You get a plastic one, but for this particular jet we're going to be using this Kevlar tank. And one of the things we do is we test it for leaks before we install it. I'm pretty sure that this tank is going to be good, because you can see that they actually test these tanks. Anyways, so what I've done is just blown air into the tank, just as much air as I can with my mouth, and I've sealed the intake, and I've sealed the vent, and we're gonna dunk it and see if we get any bubbles. That would be a sign of a leak.
No bubbles.
All right, so we dunked that and there was no bubbles. The next thing I want to do is make sure that I hear the air escape when I release this. And there it is. So the tank is good to go. Along with the fuel system, so we've decided to put a fuel dot on the side of the jet. I think that looks pretty cool. And that just gets stuck right there. And what happens here is goes right around the tank, because the tank's gonna sit right here under the deck. It gets run all the way through under this deck, and eventually comes up and enters into our UAT. And that is a 6mm line for the fill. All the other lines are gonna be a high flow 8mm line. So coming from the tank, it's gonna go in here. And obviously the UAT connection, which is the center of the UAT, is going to go directly to the pump. And then from the exit of the pump, 6mm line all the way to the back, where the turbine's going to sit, which will be in this spot. So we'll show once that's done, but this is just to give an overview of what that's looking like. The jet with the fuel system, you can see that because the fuel dot is mounted on the skin, I added a piece of wood there just to provide more strength, because this is going to be an area where you're going to be interacting with, taking the fill line in and out, so you want whatever's behind this to be strong, and so that's what that wood is for. And same thing goes for the vent. So the vent of the tank is going to be attached to here, and again, because of how that sits, you don't want it to just sit on the fiberglass, you want it to sit on something reinforced. And so we have again some more plywood there that has been glued to the fuselage, and then the vent fitting actually fits on top of that. So this is going to be nice and solid, and everything is going to be mounted in a way that allows for more surface area to spread the forces that are around those fuel hoses. We're here getting ready to install the tank, and we have the Velcro already worked through. And one of the things I want to point out here is you see how tall the arm is, and so we just want to make sure that it doesn't actually interfere with the Velcro, and it looks like it'll be just fine. So if we push that all the way down, that's as far as that goes, and up, and you can see it just rides under the Velcro, so that should be fine. But we'll be keeping an eye on that to make sure that that servo moves just fine with the tank installed. So when it comes to mounting the tank, you get these Velcro straps that you can use to secure the tank. However, I don't like that all that secures this giant, almost 6-liter tank is just 2 Velcro straps, because I guess if any of those were to break in flight, 6 liters of fuel is about, what, 6 kilograms of weight. If any of these were to break in flight, that would just be catastrophic. So what I decided to do is just add some insurance, and what you can see I've done here is glued this piece of plywood to the tank using air epoxy. And then I've also glued a orthogonal piece of wood to that. And the goal of this is, in addition to the Velcro straps, I want to have insurance. So what's going to happen here is that now with this system, the tank gets secured, I think, in a much better way. So basically this gets inserted here, and you can see there's a lip on the bottom here. I also added this piece of wood glued in between the rails that hold the tank, and this just sits in there very, very snug, and you just push it all the way down. And what's going to happen is I have this block that I'm going to glue to the bottom underneath the tank here, and it's a perfect fit just like that. So once that's glued, then this is gonna get in here, and then I'll drill a hole and secure the tank using a screw going from the top of this piece of plywood right into this. And you can see that is I've glued together a lot of plywood to make that pretty nice and beefy. So this way, when the tank gets secured, you just push it all the way down, and then this gets secured with the screw all the way to that block of wood. And now with the Velcro and this, you get 2 things: just more redundancy. This is going to hold the tank better, and then these blocks of wood here, because this wood also sits in between, that helps prevent the tank from going side to side, so it's very firm. So that's the change I'm going to make, just because I want more insurance when it comes to the tank. So here we go. What I've done, as you can see, the epoxy has dried, and we have 1 screw that secures the front of the tank down to the block of wood that's glued to the fuselage. And this way, I'm pretty happy with this tank because it's really not going anywhere. You can see I can shake that. So even if the Velcro straps were to break, at least you will have this supporting. I might also go ahead and add similar attachments to the back of the tank, just in case, because this is a big jet. So I will probably add attachments like this to the back of the tank so that it really is cinched down. But this way I feel much better about this setup. So the other thing I want to mention is that the vent has been installed, and you can see we have really just like 8mm Tygon, really thick stuff, high flow, going all the way to the external part of the plane. So what's left here is basically plumbing the tank all the way to the UAT that's in the front there, and then moving on to the next thing. The support in the back and as well to the tank, so now we'll have a screw to attach the tank in the back as well as in the front. So rigid support of the tank. That's these guys making the noise, helping out daddy in the garage. From the back, that tank is not going anywhere.